Hello everyone, welcome back in. Sorry, that was that was awkward. I don't know what happened there. Everything was going fine in the podcast, and then suddenly everything wasn't, and it all crashed. But that's all right. We are going to pick up. Welcome back to Such a Brew About Nothing, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about magic decks because I like magic. Yeah, sorry about that. We had technical difficulties, but these things happen. That do be how it goes. So, if you're joining us from the previous part, please do go check out that video. Where we are talking about the Final Fantasy X deck. We will pick up where we left off. We were talking about some of the lands and then some of the bonus sideboard cards. So we are just going to pick up right where we left off there. Let me just do the things. Also, do want to let everybody know that we will have ads incoming momentarily, a couple minutes. If you don't want to watch ads, then the easiest way to do that is, of course, subscribing. Or if you're already subscribed, you can gift a sub. Or if you you can also use... see, I'm thrown off my game now because everything crashed. Normally I only have to do this intro once. If you also have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe with Twitch Prime to a Twitch channel of your choice for free every month. I think this one's a pretty good one, but I'm also pretty biased. On top of that, you can also get Twitch Turbo. It's like $13 a month and lets you watch ad-free across all of Twitch. And then on top of those, you can also give bits if you want to toss a coin to your streamer without breaking the bank. Also, you get 20 free emotes with a sub. That's twice as much as you get for most channels that you subscribe to. Do want to stress, though, that any and all financial compensation on this channel is always appreciated, but never required. That said, let's get back into the deck talk, shall we? And of course, my camera is broken again, so excuse me one moment. Let's set this back up. I don't know why this keeps happening. We might just go ahead and... If this keeps happening, I'm going to try uninstalling and reinstalling Twitch on my phone, and maybe that fixes it. The weird thing about my camera not swapping around is it will be fine as long as I'm not live. I can swap my camera just fine. Then as soon as I go live, if I swap my camera, it goes black screen. It's so weird. So I will try uninstalling and reinstalling, and if that doesn't fix it on the next one, then we'll figure out what to do from there. Maybe we just keep doing it this way. Okay, let's get back into this deck. So, of course, if you want to see the earlier cards we talked about in the Counter Blitz deck, then check out part 1 of this episode, because I don't know what happened. Twitch just decided to crash. These things happen. Anywho, getting right back into our lands, we have Command Tower. It is a land that taps for a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. You know it, you love it, you probably include it in every commander deck. This art here shown is the city of Xanarkand. That is where Tidus is from. Next up, we have Path of Ancestry. It's a land, enters tapped, taps for a mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and when this mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you get to scry one. We talked about the art background of this one in the Final Fantasy VII deck, because this one it's the same art. But yeah, this is Cosmo Canyon, where Red 13 is from. Next up, we have Exotic Orchard, a land that taps for 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. This is Guado Salam, where Trommel and Seymour and Jiskel, all the Guado are from here. This is also where the portal to the far plane is. Next, we have Seaside Citadel, Seaside Citadel, Seaside Citadel, Seaside Citadel. Seaside Citadel is a land that enters the battlefield tapped and taps for a green, white, or blue. This is the airship that Seymour takes Yuna to marry her. That we saw in the, was it Collective Effort? Which spell was that? Let me see. Yeah. Seaside Citadel is the art that they are sliding down those big cables on to get to. Next we have Sky Cloud Expanse. This is a land that you can pay 1 and tap to add white and blue to your mana pool. I don't know what this place is featured because this is from Final Fantasy XIV, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, maybe when we get to Final Fantasy XIV. Next, we have Temple of Enlightenment. It's a land, enters the battlefield tapped, and as it enters, you get to scry 1 and taps for a white or a blue. This is the temple in the Temple of the Faith in the Moonflow. Well, you first go to the Moonflow, then to Guado Salam, then from there you go through the Thunder Plains, and that leads you to Makalania Temple, right? Which is where you get Shiva, your 4th summon in the game. Next, we have Glacial Fortress. This land enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island. Doesn't have to be basic. And taps for a white or a blue. This is another one from Final Fantasy XIV, so we will talk about that a little more when we get to the 14 deck next. Next, we have Idyllic Beachfront. It is a land, plains island, so this is fetchable with your Farseek. So it taps for a white or a blue, and it enters the battlefield tapped. It's just nice, straightforward, fetchable dual land. This is the beach where Tidus washes up after the boss fight with the Chasm Skulker thing that we saw when he meets the Albed. He wakes up on this beach and meets Waka and the Luca Goers, and that's what starts him on his adventure. Next, we have Prairie Stream. This is another dual land, Plains Island, so taps for white or a blue, and it enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. This is another area from Final Fantasy XIV, so we will talk about it a little more in a little bit. Next is Port Town. This land, as it enters, you may reveal a plains or an island from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped and taps for a white or a blue. This is Luca. This is where the Blitzball Stadium is. This is where the Luca Goers are from. This is where the Besaid Aurochs take on the Luca Goers in the Blitzball match when Yuna gets kidnapped. Moving on through our non-basic lands, we're going to look at the green-white ones next. This is Temple of Plenty. It enters tapped, and when it enters, you scry 1. Taps for a green or white. This is Kilika Temple, which is the Temple of Fire. This is where you get Ifrit as your summon. You get him from Kilika Temple. Next, we have Radiant Grove. It's a forest plains, so it taps for green or white, and enters tapped. This is, I believe, is this the far plane? Yes, this is the far plane. is the Radiant Grove. It's a little hard to see with the foiling for me at this angle. Well, it's the entry to the far plane where you can speak with the dead. Next we have Sungrass Prairie. It's a land. You pay 1. It then taps to add green and white. We talked about this during the Final Fantasy VII deck. This is the Chocobo farm, where you can breed your Chocobos. Next up, Sun Petal Grove. It's a land. Enters tapped unless you control a forest or a plains, and taps for a green or a white. This is... I think this is the Calm Road, I believe. I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Next up we have Canopy Vista. It's a land, forest plains, so taps for green or white, and it enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basics. We talked about this one during the Final Fantasy VII deck. This is Medial, where you end up finding Cloud after things go horribly awful in the latter half of the game. Next we have Brushland, one of the Pain lands. So it taps for a colorless or taps for a green or white, but it deals 1 damage to you. This is the Calm lands. This is kind of the big open world area that's meant for like running around and grinding enemies, and there's a bunch of side questy stuff you can do. Basically, this place exists because Sin was defeated here, and thus left this, big flat cratered area that they then know as the Calmlands, because that's where Sin is usually fought. Next, we have the Fortified Village. As it enters, you may reveal a plains or a forest from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped. Taps for a green or a white. We talked about this one during Final Fantasy VII. This is Fort Condor, where you go get the Phoenix materia. Next, we have Flooded Grove. It's a land, taps for a colorless, or you can pay a green-blue, so a Simic hybrid. You can pay either or, and tap to add either double green, green and blue, or double blue. This is the tree where Yuna's has the crying scene that we were talking about in the last part. That is on the art for Yuna's decision. Let me pull that up here. There we go. The tree in the background, is that very same tree. So that is the area where my favorite scene takes place in the game. Next we have Hinterland Harbor. This land enters tapped unless you control a forest or an island, and it taps for a green or a white. This is, I believe this is the Moonglow, if I remember right. This is where you first get to ride the Shoopuf. And shortly after this is where you get Riku to join your party. Next we have Vine Glimmer Snarl, one of the Snarl lands. As it enters, you may reveal a forest or island from your hand. If you don't, it enters tapped and taps for a green or a blue. Oh, this is the temple where you get anima. That's right. Yeah. That's the temple you have to go in if you want to get anima. Next, we have Temple of Mystery. Enters tapped. When it enters, you scry one and taps for a green or a blue. This is Remium Temple. This is... I think this is where you get the Magus Sisters, I believe, or Oreo Jimbo. One of those two, I think, if I remember right. Next, we have the Overflowing Basin. It's a land. You pay 1, tap, and it adds green and blue to your pool. This is the waters outside of... Oh, is it... It's not Besaid. I don't remember the name of the place, but this is where you see Yuna do her first sending dance. That is shown on her art here on Yuna Grand Summoner. This is her doing her sending dance for a bunch of people that were killed in an attack by Sin. Yeah, you have these spirits called Pyreflies, and she starts dancing to send them to the far plane. And final non-basic land, we have Tangled Islet. It is a land forest island, so it taps for green or blue, and enters tapped. This is Kilika Temple. Oh, it's Kilika. That's where this is. Yeah, Kilika gets attacked by Sin. Bunch of people die. Yuna does ascending, so that all the Pyreflies go to the far plane and don't wind up becoming monsters. And here is Kilika before that disaster happens. And if I remember right, Kilika is... I think this is where you get Ixion, if I remember correctly. I want to say. I don't remember fully. But all of the temples are where temples of the faith are, that you have to go into, solve the puzzles to get more summons. Let's have a look at our basics, and then we will look at our sideboard and our alternate arts and tokens. So we have some basic lands, of course the plains. These are the same ones from the Final Fantasy VII deck and the Final Fantasy VI one. It is Seventh Heaven, Tifa's Bar. Then we have our forests. This is, in Final Fantasy III, this is the Chocobo Forest, where you first encounter the fat Chocobo. And the islands, which we finally get to talk about. This is the beach that Tidus wakes up on. You can see in the distance Wakka and the Besaid Aurochs. They're practicing blitzball on the beach. So this is the beach just outside of Besaid. And that's all the basic lands. Let's have a look at the alt arts, just because I think they're neat. So here we have the full art alternate for Tidus. Of course, we can reiterate his abilities, but Tidus, Yuna's Guardian, costs green, white, blue for a legendary human warrior. 3/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control, and then has cheer. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn. So this is the alternate art for Tidus. Next we have Yuna Grand Summoner, her alt art. It's just really pretty. I like the anime alt art characters. I also like how in the background they have the Roman numeral from their respective games. It's hard to see on this one, but there is a giant X behind. Next we have the Chocobo foil track art for Wakka Devoted Guardian. And it's not really coming across on camera here. But you can see there's little Chocobo footprints all over it. So in order to get this special alternate art foil, you had to get the Chocobo bundles. Next we have the full art for Summon Yojimbo, because it's just my favorite summon. He's just cool. And I like that he's got Daigoro is a little more in the front ground there. Then we have the full art card, foil stamped, for Yuna. What is it? What is the name of that one? It's the Yuna that's not in this deck. Yuna Hope of Spira from the main set. So Yuna has 2 anime arts in the set. And then we have the Together Forever art card, because I dig that artwork. Then we have our treasure token, our clue tokens, which are the memory spheres. Then we have more clues, more treasures, the 1/1 flying white spirit tokens that we saw that that enchantment makes. And on the back has our squids with Island Walk, made by the Chasm Skulker. Another spirit with another squid, and then a squid, and a squid, and both of those have spirits. So that is the alt arts and tokens. Now let's get into just some of the sideboard cards that I think are cool, that I just keep with the deck because I like how they look. Up first, the very first card that I opened from a Final Fantasy pack. I opened a collector booster. It was the only card I wanted from the set more than anything. And the very first pack I opened had it. So this is Stay With Me. It is my favorite scene in Final Fantasy X. This is a reprint of Rhystic Study, which is a game changer. Rhystic Study costs 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Says whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Just a good enchantment. People have been calling for this thing to get banned forever. It might one day, but probably not anytime soon. I just really dig that artwork. This is a still taken from the actual game, and it's one of my favorites. Next, we have Summon Shiva. We've talked about her a little bit. She is the only summon, well, one of 2 summons that aren't included in the deck, that are part of the required summons that you get throughout the story. So Summon Shiva here, this is her full art foil. 3 blue for an enchantment, creature, saga, elemental, 4/5 with Heavenly Strike on chapter 1 and 2. You tap target creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. And chapter 3, Diamond Dust. Draw a card for each tapped creature your opponents control. I dig Shiva. She looks super cool in Final Fantasy X whenever you summon her. Next, we have another card featuring... this was actually the cover of the copy of Final Fantasy X that I had on PlayStation 2. Yo, what's up, Charlie? How's it going? Welcome on in. Welcome, welcome. You're lurking? Alright, enjoy your lurk. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. So we have Tidus, Xanarkand Faith. Oops, spoiler alert. Yeah, it turns out Tidus is actually, he's one of them unsents that I was talking about. He's a Firefly. He's been dead for thousands of years. Turns out, when Sin attacked Xanarkand, Tidus and everyone in the town was destroyed. But also, maybe that Xanarkand never existed and was always a dream? It's complicated. But Tidus Xanarkand Faith here is a reprint of Thrasios Triton Hero, blue and a green, for legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard 1/3, with pay 4 to scry 1, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, draw a card. and has partner. This is the foil one. Turns out these cards got super expensive, so I don't even really necessarily want to play it in a deck, because I guess a lot of people really like Thrasios. I just like the art on him. I don't even have a Merfolk deck. Next, we have the final summon that is part of the mainline story, but not included in the deck. It's Summon Bahamut. 9 mana for an enchantment creature saga dragon, 9/9 with flying. Chapters 1 and 2 destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Chapter 3, draw 2 cards. And Chapter 4, Mega Flare. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. He just comes down and does a lot of oof, ow, all my bones to your opponents and blows up their stuff. Next, we have Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. This is how Tidus ends up meeting Yuna, because he's in Besaid, and this summoner here, whom I cannot remember her name, but her and her guardians are there, and she's really awful. And they throw him down into the Faith with no way out, and then he has to go through the puzzle to get to Yuna to get out. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum is 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura with flash, enchant artifact, or creature. When this aura enters, tap enchanted permanent. An enchanted permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So it just locks something down. It's a full-on pacifism. It stops something of your opponents from doing its thing. Next, we have a card that is in Japanese, so I'm going to have to pull that up on my Arca deck, which, by the way, as a reminder, the deck lists that we are looking at tonight are in the pinned message in chat and will be in the description below on the VODs, both on Twitch and YouTube. This is Oren's Inspiration. It is 2 and a white for an instant that says attacking creatures get +2/+0 until end of turn and has flashback for 2 and 2 white. It's just a big anthem spell. If you're sending in all of your creatures to attack, it's a nice little instant gotcha where your opponents think they've made advantageous blocks and you suddenly pump everything by 2 and hopefully kill their stuff. And this is when they finally send Oren as a spirit. Yuna sends him. Because turns out, oh yeah, Oren's also been an unsent this entire time too. Next we have Ride the Shoe Puff. 1 and a green for an enchantment with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control. And then for 7 mana, so 5 green, this enchantment becomes a 7/7 beast creature in addition to its other types. So that doesn't go away at end of turn. It's just, hey, pay 2 mana. Now when a land enters, you get a 1/1 counter. And then if you pay 7, it's now just a 7/7 permanently that also has that landfall ability. And plus, you get to read the flavored text, which is really fun to say. As the guy driving the big giant shoe puff that you see here that's under the water. And it's, rides the shoe puff, all aboard. And that is how they actually talk. This was, remember, it was 2001. It had only been 2 years since Star Wars Episode 1 came out. This game was in development when Episode 1 came out. And people really actually liked Jar Jar Binks back then. And he's giving Jar Jar. It's very Jar Jar vibes. Next we have Blitzball Shot. 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. Just very straightforward. And it's Waka shooting a Blitzball. Speaking of Blitzball, we have Blitzball. 3 mana artifact that taps for a mana of any color and has Goal! Which is tap, sacrifice this artifact, and draw 2 cards. Activate only if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legendary creature this turn. So it's kind of a commander sphere, right? Except instead of it tapping for a mana in your commander's color identity, it just taps for any color mana. And also, instead of tapping and sacking to draw a card, it'll draw you 2, but you have to have dealt combat damage, presumably with your commander, is the idea behind it. And that is the quintessential Blitzball. Next, we have Syncopate, X and a blue for an instant counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Great counterspell. If you spend 2 mana, then your opponent has to spend 1 extra. If they're tapping out for something, you spend 2 mana, you counter that thing. Not only is it countered, but then it's permanently removed. Great counterspell. And that's Seymour just being a dick. Next, we have Ice Magic. This is in here just because you get to see Lulu doing her thing. She's the black mage of the group. Ice Magic is 1 and a blue for an instant. This is a tiered spell, so you choose 1 additional cost, right? It'll always be, the first one is always 0 extra. For Blizzard, you return target creature to its owner's hand. So you just get to unsummon something for 2 mana, right? Blizzara for 4 mana, so 2 extra, right? So 2, 3, and a blue. So total of 4 mana. Target creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. So now it's an extra better unsummon. And Blizzaga for an extra 5 and blue, so a whopping total of 8 mana, 6 and 2 blue. Target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. You just shuffle something away. Is it the best one in the world? Not necessarily, but you get to see Lulu doing some ice magic. And I like the foiling there. Next we have classic D&D, Final Fantasy monster, the Ice Flan, which in Japanese is called Pudding. 4 blue for an elemental ooze 5/4. When this creature enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. And also has island cycling, so you can pay 2, discard this card, and go get an island from your deck and put it in your hand. Next we have the Luca Stadium itself, which is a reprint of Strixhaven Stadium. For 3 mana, it's an artifact that taps for colorless and put a point counter on this artifact. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you remove a point counter from this artifact. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you put a point counter on this artifact. Then, if it has 10 or more point counters on it, remove them all, and that player loses the game. So this is in here because Tidus can move counters around, and having the ability to move those counters off of something, you tap it, you put a point counter on it, you move that point counter onto a creature or an enchantment or something that you have, and then you move it back onto this later. It's part of the strategy. I've never actually gotten Strixhaven to insta-eliminate a player, but it's in the Magical Fairy Christmas Dreamland sideboard of the deck. Next we have another Japanese card. I do like the German name for this card best, as it is Tidus Blitzball Ass. That is the actual German name for it, because apparently that's how you say star in German, because this is Tidus Blitzball Star. 1 white blue for a legendary human warrior, 2/1 with whenever an artifact you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Tidus. Whenever Tidus attacks, tap target creature an opponent controls. It's not necessarily good for this deck, because there's not a ton of artifacts, but he's in here because he's the commander, and it's another version of him. Next we have Combat Tutorial. This is an actual scene from the game. 2 and a blue for a sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. This is literally a scene in the game where Tidus attacks a ice flan, and it does basically no damage, and Lulu is the one showing him and is like, you don't attack them, you have to use magic, and then comes in and just kills the thing. And our final card for the Final Fantasy X deck is Yuna, Hope of Spira. Yuna is 3 green-white for a legendary human cleric 3/5 with, during your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. And at the beginning of your end step, return up to 1 target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So, any of your summons, when they hit their final chapter, they go away. End of turn, she'll bring them back with a finality counter. They get to do their chapter 1. They all have trample, lifelink, ward 2, as well as her. Yuna was making waves in Standard when this card came out, and I don't blame them, because this card's kind of a house. And you can see this is the moment when Yuna does her first summon of Valifor. And that's the final card for Final Fantasy X that we are talking about today. We are going to, don't go away, because we are going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, and do y'all like cats? Do y'all like warlocks? Do y'all like a cat with warlocks? We're going to talk about Y'shtola Knights Blessed and the Final Fantasy XIV deck when we come back. We are going to take a short break. I know that the stream says we've only been going for 30-some minutes, but remember that it crashed for no reason. So we are going to take a quick bio break. This is a chance for everybody to go cycle your fluids, refill your beverages, grab a snack, get comfy, and then we will get back into it and talk about Final Fantasy XIV. So, I'll see you all very soon. Don't go away. I love you very much. And we are back. Yes, we had a tiny bathroom break there. Elf, thank you. Sorry, we always take a little break in between talking about our two different decks, so everybody has a chance to take their bio breaks, refresh their drinks and whatnot. But we are going to jump right back in to the deck techs, talking about the Scions and Spellcraft deck, which is the Final Fantasy XIV deck, helmed here by Y'shtola Knights Blessed. So, do want to send a quick shout out to Happy Boy Games, happy_boy_games on Twitch here, for making the channel theme that you've heard playing a couple times mixed into this playlist, as well as Omega on Deck, who made all of the other music that we hear. If you want to check out the playlist on Spotify that we're listening to, there's a link now posted in chat. So thank you to Omega and to Happy for the dope music that we listen to during this podcast. Getting back into the decks, we have Y'shtola Knights Blessed is 1 white, blue, black, so 1 and Esper, for a 2/4 legendary cat warlock with vigilance. And at the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Note that it doesn't say you have to be the one to cause that life loss. Note that it doesn't say an opponent has to have lost 4 or more life. It could be you. This is a great Esper commander to keep cards in your hand. Also has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. So she's dealing damage and gaining you life, and if you do that twice, that's 4 damage, so she draws you a card. This is one of the more popular Esper commanders on EDH Rec and through Archidect and Moxfield and whatnot, because Esper normally is it's a rougher deck to run that isn't just doing, combo out, draw your deck, and win with a combo win like an Ad Nauseam and a Thassa's Oracle, right? Y'shtola lets you, in a more fairly manner, keep your hand full and deal damage to the table. On top of that, because she's a 2/4 vigilance, if you attack with Y'shtola, she can hit an opponent for 2, and then you cast a non-creature spell, mana value 3, and she drains the table for 2, which will trigger the 4 or more life loss, drawing you a card. So even if you don't cast the 2 spells, she can get you that card just by attacking and casting a single spell. Now, as I said in the earlier part of this podcast, check out part 1 because we had a stream crash. It happens. I'm unfamiliar with the characters in Final Fantasy XIV because I have not played it. But I still want to talk about the decks, so I'm basically just going to read off the cards. I don't know much of the backstory or lore for these characters. But one thing I do know about Final Fantasy XIV, being one of the best-selling MMOs, is that it apparently pays homage to every Final Fantasy game. You'll see characters and places and things show up. Not necessarily characters, but you'll see nods to all kinds of things from throughout the Final Fantasy series. So, next we have the backup commander for this deck. This is Grahatia Scion Reborn. White, blue, black for a legendary cat wizard. 2/3 with lifelink and throw wide the gates. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life, where X is that spell's mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and put X/1/1 counters on it. Do this only once each turn. So you cast a non-creature spell. Say you cast a 2-drop non-creature spell. You could pay 2 life, and then you get a 1/1 hero and put 2 1/1 counters on it. So pretty good return there. You're casting a 2-drop spell. You get a 3/3 body as a result. And he's able to gain you life to make up for the life loss. Next we have Krill Baldesion, notably a Lalafell, which are dwarves in Final Fantasy XIV, or gnomes. I think they're canonically dwarves. They were in Final Fantasy XI. They were called what was it? Taru Taru. They changed the name for some reason to Lalafell. It's just a thing that you have to be on board with. Krill here costs white and a blue for a legendary dwarf wizard, 2/1 with lifelink, and Trace Aether. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may return target creature card with mana value equal to that spell's mana value from your graveyard to your hand. Do this only once each turn. So this deck has a lot of non-creature spells in it to help fuel a lot of the synergies in this. Speaking of Taru Taru, we have the Lalafell Tataru Taru. Not to be confused with the race Taru Taru from Final Fantasy XI. She is a Lalafell, named Tataru Taru, but is not a Taru Taru. Why? I don't know. Tataru Taru costs 1 and a white for a legendary Dwarf Advisor 0/3 with when Tataru Taru enters, you draw a card and target opponent may draw a card. And has Scion's Secretary. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if it isn't that player's turn, create a tapped treasure token. And this ability triggers only once each turn. So it's card draw in white. Also gets you some ramp, because if they do draw that card, you get a tapped treasure. Next we have Hermes, Overseer of Elpis, 3 and a blue for a legendary Elder Wizard, 2/4, with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying and vigilance, and whenever you attack with 1 or more birds, scry 2. Scrying, of course, you get to look at the top card of your library and choose whether to keep it on top or put it on the bottom. Next, we have Hreisvelgr of the First Brood, 4 and a blue for a legendary Elder Dragon, 5/5, with flying, vigilance, and ward 2, and has Shiva's Aid. When Hreisvelgr enters, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn, and can't be blocked this turn. I do know this from watching a lore video about this deck. Apparently, Hreisvelgr is one of the small babies of a dragon that left from the original world of Final Fantasy XIV when it was relaunched as A Realm Reborn, and fell in love with a human woman named Shiva, who died because she's human. But because of how belief works in Final Fantasy XIV, enough people knew about that story and believed in the love between Hreisvelgr and Shiva that she came back to life as a god, apparently. And so that's why the ability is called Shiva's Aid. Next we have Argbert, Warrior of Darkness, 1 white-black for a legendary Spirit Warrior, 2/2, with whenever you cast a white spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control, and they gain menace until end of turn. So, if you cast a white and black spell, all of your legendary creatures get 2 1/1 counters and gain vigilance and menace. Sounds like a good love god origin story. That's what it sounds like. Like I said, with Hraesvelgr. I am unfamiliar with a lot of the lore, but I do highly recommend, if you want more lore on a bunch of the Final Fantasy cards, definitely check out the LRRMTG video on YouTube for all of the Final Fantasy Magic lore, because Graham Stark does an awesome job explaining cards. Next we have Fan Daniel. Big fan of Daniel here. Telephoroi Asian? I believe that's how you say that. Telephoroi Asian. 4 and a black for a legendary Elder Wizard, 4/5, with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Surveil 1. And at the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Each opponent who doesn't loses 2 life for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. So that could get out of hand quick. So it's helping keep your opponent's board clear for you, or they're taking a load of damage. Especially because casting instants and sorceries lets you surveil, and if you're surveilling more instants and sorceries into your graveyard, then you're making that life loss even greater. So he can even help fuel his own second ability there. Next we have Estinian Varlino, 2 white-black for a legendary elf warrior, 3/3, with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Estinian Varlino. It gains flying until end of turn, because he's a dragoon, you see, and dragoons always have the ability to jump, which in this magic set is represented by them gaining flying for the turn. And at the beginning of your second main phase, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of your opponents who were dealt combat damage by Estinian Varlinu or a dragon this turn. So if you have Estinian and, say, Hraesvelgr out, you attack 2 opponents, you could draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Next we have Lisa Hexed. 1 white-blue for a 2/2 legendary human rebel monk with prowess. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And as long as you've cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, Lise Hexed has double strike. So if you cast 1 non-creature, she becomes a 3/3. You cast a second non-creature spell, she becomes a 4/4, and gains double strike. And mind you, all of those non-creature spells cost you 1 less. Remember that non-creature spells can be triggered off of your mana rocks, your enchantments, your instants, your sorceries, anything that isn't a creature. So prowess is notoriously a favorite magic mechanic for people that love Spellslinger decks. Next we have Thancred Waters, 4 and a white for a legendary human warrior, 3/5 with flash, has Royal Guard. When Thancred Waters enters, another target legendary permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Thancred Waters. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Thancred Waters gains indestructible until end of turn. So he comes in, he makes something else indestructible as long as he's around, and if you cast any non-creature spell, he's indestructible. So he'll just keep 2 of your things alive, himself and something else. Thancred, I do know from the art, is a Gunblade user, or a Gunbreaker class in Final Fantasy XIV. That's the same weapon that Squall uses in Final Fantasy VIII. Next we have Emmett Selk of the Third Seat. He's kind of a bad guy, but like is not the worst, I guess, from all the things I know about him. But he is ultimately a bad guy. Emmett Selk of the Third Seat here costs 2 blue-black for a legendary Elder Wizard, 3/4, with spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast, and whenever 1 or more opponents lose life, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. If that spell will be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Do this only once each turn. So, opponent loses life, something in your graveyard basically gains flashback, and then it's exiled upon its recasting. Next we have Alice Levelier, or Levelier. I'm going to say Alice Levelier because it looks like Levelier. Alice Levelier. We're going with that. 2 and a white for a legendary elf wizard, 3/2, and partners with Alphinaud Levelier. So when this creature enters, target player may put Alphinaud Levelier into their hand from their library, then shuffle. Has first strike and dual cast. The second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. Next, let's look at her brother, Alphinaud Levelier. 3 and a blue for a legendary elf wizard, partners with Alice Levelier. So if you cast Alice, she can go get Alphinaud. If you cast Alphinaud, he can go get his sister, Alice. And has Vigilance, and has Eucrasia, which is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. And he's a 2/4. So with both of them out, you get the twins. They care about second spell stuff. So you get a 3/2 first strike and a 2/4 vigilance that the second spell you cast costs 2 less and draws you a card. That's the pairing of the twins, who happen to also be the children of, I'm going to butcher this name, Louisoix Levelier, who is like famous in the game because he's the one who gave his life to save everybody when they took Final Fantasy XIV offline to relaunch it as A Realm Reborn. Next we have, oh boy, Urianger Augerelt. That's how I've heard it said before. Urianger Augerelt. It's like when a bunch of Japanese people wanted to make a bunch of French names, but nobody actually spoke French. Moving on, Urianger costs white and a blue for a legendary elf advisor, 1/3 with whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you gain 2 life, and has draw Arcanum. You tap, look at the top card of your library, you may exile it face down, or play Arcanum, tap until end of turn. You may play cards exiled with Urianger Augerelt, and spells you cast this way cost 2 less to cast. So he fuels his own exile thing. So you can tap him to exile stuff that will stay there, that you can then tap to play anything exiled with him. Next we have Hildebrand Manderville. 1 and a white for a legendary human detective. This is apparently a bit of a meme character and fan favorite because he always does this pose and has appeared in like every expansion in Final Fantasy XIV. And is kind of a bit of a comic relief character. He kind of bumbles into every situation and is also called the world's greatest detective. Citation needed. But Hildebrand here says creature tokens you control get +1/+1. And when Hildebrand Manderville dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn, and is a 2/2. His adventure is Gentleman's Rise, 2 and a black for an instant that creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever, as a reminder, whenever you cast an adventure card, if you cast its adventure spell, this card goes into exile, and then you can use the main part of the card. So we've seen some of the adventure lands before. So you could cast Hildebrand's Gentleman's Rise spell, make a 2/2 zombie, then cast Hildebrand himself, and get a 2/2 zombie and a 2/2 human detective that's going to give that zombie +1/+1. And if he dies, then you can cast him as that spell again, which will put him back into exile as the adventure, which you could then recast him. So he'll just keep showing up again, kind of like he does in the game. Next we have another Lalafell named, I'm going to do my best here, Papalimo Totolimo. We're going to go with that. So Papa here costs white and a black for a legendary dwarf wizard 1/2 with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Papalimo Totolimo deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. And for 4 and tap, sacrifice Papalimo Totolimo. Each opponent who lost life this turn sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. So he can kind of do extra removal. That is all of the legendary creatures for this deck. Let's have a look at the non-legendaries. We have Murderous Rider, 1 black for a zombie knight with lifelink, and when this creature dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library, and is a 2/3. Has the spell Swift End for 1 black. It's an instant adventure. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. You lose 2 life. So you just get to murder something, and then you can bring in a 2/3 lifelinking knight that if it dies, goes on the bottom of your library, so it will be back. Next we have Hypnotic Sprite. You can see a lot of our non-legendary creatures are going to have adventures on them to help fuel Ishtola's ability of wanting to cast non-creature spells. So Hypnotic Sprite is blue for a 2/1 flying fairy with Mesmeric Glare. It's a 2 and a blue for an instant adventure. Counter target spell with mana value 3 or less. Next we have Archmage Emeritus, fan favorite card from the Strixhaven set. Archmage Emeritus is 2 blue for a human wizard 2/2 with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. Draw a card is the 3 favorite words in Magic the Gathering for a lot of players. Next we have Summoned Good King Mog the 12th, which I've been told is not his full name. It is Good King Moggle Mog, but that doesn't fit on the card. So Good King Moggle Mog the 12th is 4 and a white for a 4/4 enchantment saga Moogle creature with flying and lifelink. Chapter 1, you create 2 1/2 white Moogle creature tokens with lifelink. Chapter 2 and 3, whenever you cast a non-creature spell this turn, create a token that's a copy of a non-saga token you control. And Chapter 4, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each other Moogle you control. So, the idea being, turn 1 comes down, or first turn comes down, you get 2 1/2 white Moogle creatures with lifelink. Chapters 3 and 4, you make a copy of each of them, so you'll have 4 of them. And then you're going to put 2 1/1 counters on each other Moogle, so all of those Moogles that you've made on the first 3 chapters would become 3/4s with lifelink. Next we have classic card draw if you're in blue and black. Baleful Strix. Blue and a black for an artifact bird creature, 1/1 with flying and death touch, and when this creature enters, draw a card. Then we have Torrential Gearhulk, 4 blue for an artifact construct creature, 5/6 with flash, and when this creature enters, you may cast target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell will be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So for 6 mana, you're getting a 5/6 that's recasting an instant from your graveyard. Pretty decent value. Next we have Eye of Nidhogg, 2 and a black for a legendary aura enchantment. It has enchant creature. Enchanted creature is a black dragon with base power and toughness 4/2, has flying and death touch, and is goaded. So goad, of course, is any creatures that are goaded must attack and have to attack a player other than you, if able. And when Eye of Nidhogg is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you return it to its owner's hand, so you just keep casting it. I am told from lore videos that the gentleman pictured in the Eye of Nidhogg card is, in fact, Estinian Varlino. That's apparently him in the card's art, because he apparently likes killing dragons. And so that's why the Eye of Nidhogg turns a thing into a dragon. Next we have Observed Stasis, 3 and a blue for an enchantment aura. Flash, so it can be cast at instant speed. Enchant creature and opponent controls. When this aura enters, remove enchanted creature from combat, then draw a card for each tapped creature its controller controls. An enchanted creature loses all abilities and can't attack or block. So, you use this when your opponent's about to try and kill you with something big. It pops it out of combat and can't attack or block. And then if they're doing a big swing, you're drawing a bunch of cards. Next up we have Authority of the Consuls. 1 white mana for an enchantment. Creatures your opponents control enter tapped, which is just great. And whenever a creature an opponent controls enters, you gain a life. Just a good little stacksy piece. Next we have Champions from Beyond. X white for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create X 1/1 colorless hero creature tokens. So, for 3 mana, you get a 1/1. For 4 mana, you get 2 1/1s. 5 mana, you get 3 1/1s, and so on. It also has Light Party. Whenever you attack with 4 or more creatures, scry 2, then draw a card. And Full Party, whenever you attack with 8 or more creatures, those creatures get +4/+4 until end of turn. So, if you cast this for a whopping 10 mana, you could, in theory, right, if X equals 8, you make 8 1/1 colorless hero tokens. Next turn, you go to attack, you get to scry 2, draw a card, and all 8 of them are 5/5s. So, could be a finisher. But note that it doesn't say it has to be those hero tokens. So, if you just have a bunch of other creatures, you could even cast this for 2 mana, and if you attack with 4 creatures, scry 2, draw a card. That's just pretty decent. Next up we have Bastion of Remembrance, 2 and a black for an enchantment. When this enchantment enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses life, and you gain a life. It just helps fuel the drain stuff that Y'shtola wants to do. And then we have yet another Staxy Prison piece. We have Propaganda, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature they control that's attacking you. It's just a great way to keep you alive without your opponents swinging on you constantly. Moving on into the artifacts, because there's many of them. Because this deck doesn't have a lot of creatures, but it does make pretty decent use of the job select artifacts from the set. So, up first we have Reaper's Scythe, 2 and a black for an artifact equipment with job select. So when this enters, you create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token and attach this equipment to it, right? It's like Living Weapon or, what was the other one? Living Weapon, for Mirrodin, then there's job select, and I want to say there was one more thing they did that had a similar effect. Reaper's Scythe, at the beginning of your end step, you put a soul counter on this equipment for each player who lost life this turn. And equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each soul counter on this equipment, and is, what is that word? And is an assassin in addition to its other types. And how the job select equipments work is they have the equip ability all named after a famous weapon from that game. So Death Sickle is the name of a sickle you can get to put on your Reaper job character, if that makes sense. So these will always just be how you equip the thing. So Death Sickle is equip for 2. That's if you want to put this on a different creature. It does come in, makes a body, and attaches to it though. Next we have Dancer's Chakrams, 3 and a white, artifact equipment with job select, enters, make a 1/1, attach this to it. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has lifelink, and other commanders you control get +2/+2 and have lifelink, and is a performer in addition to its other types. So this comes in 4 mana, you make a 1/1 that this attaches to, which makes it then a 3/3 with lifelink, and gives your commander +2/+2 and lifelink. And then that hero becomes a hero performer because they're a dancer. And the equip ability is called Krishna, which is the chakrams shown in the art there. Then we have Blue Mage's Cane, 2 and a blue for artifact equipment with job select. Equipped creature gets +0/+2 and is a wizard in addition to its other types, and has, whenever this creature attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from defending player's graveyard. If you do, copy it. You may cast the copy by paying 3 rather than paying its mana cost. Equips for 2, which is called Spirit of the Wallachie. I'm going to assume that's Wallachie. Next we have Astrologian's Planisphere, 1 and a blue for an artifact equipment, job select. Equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types, and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Equips for 2, and that equip cost is called Diana, which is the Planisphere shown there. I guess Astrologians are a class that utilize cards for their spells. So they're like a Tarochi. Then we have Sage's Newliths, 1 and a blue for artifact equipment, job select. Equipped creature gets +1/+0, has, whenever this creature attacks, untap target attacking creature, and is a cleric in addition to its other types. Equips for 3 and is called Hagnea. These floating things behind this person, that is the Newliths. Next we have Tome of Legends. Rules update. This is now Artifact Book as of Strixhaven. Tome of Legends costs 2, is an artifact book. This artifact enters with a page counter on it. Whenever your commander enters or attacks, you put a page counter on this artifact. And you can pay 1, tap, remove a page counter from this artifact to draw a card. Next we have Coveted Jewel, 6 mana for an artifact. When this artifact enters, you draw 3 cards, taps to add 3 mana of any one color, and whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of this artifact and untaps it. So this is notably a way to draw cards in any color deck that also will, it's basically pay 3, draw 3, because it'll tap for 3 mana. So it will refund the mana that, some of the mana that you spent. But also incentivizes players to attack whoever holds the Coveted Jewel. So fun flavor there, right? Yeah, you're going to get attacked by playing it, but then it's going to move to somebody else, and they're going to use it, and then everyone's going to want to attack them to get the jewel back, and so on as it passes around the table. Next, we have Talisman of Progress, 2 mana artifact, taps for colorless, or you can tap and add a white or a blue, and it deals a damage to you. Then we have Thought Vessel, 2 mana artifact, you have no maximum hand size, taps for a colorless. Next we have Arcane Signet. You know it, you love it, it's in every commander deck. 2 mana artifact, taps for a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. There are many mana rocks in this deck because it wants to cast lots of spells, and all of these mana rocks are non-creature spells for the purposes of wanting to trigger Prowess and Ishtola's abilities, all of those. They all trigger on casting mana rocks. So this is Talisman of Dominance. 2 mana artifact, taps for a colorless or taps for a blue or black and deals a damage to you. Then we have Soul Ring, single mana artifact, taps for 2 colorless. I believe this is also for saving. These are like save crystals as well. At least in many of the other commander decks, the Soul Rings were always like save crystals or espers, like magicite, things like that. But I don't actually know. It's cool looking. Then we have Talisman of Hierarchy, the last talisman in the deck. 2 mana artifact, taps for a colorless and taps for a white or a black and deals a damage to you. Next we have Archaeomancer's Map. 2 and a white for an artifact. When this artifact enters, search your library for up to 2 basic plains cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle. Whenever a land an opponent controls enters, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Note it doesn't say tapped, and note it doesn't say one of those basic plains that you got. This is an excellent way to get a deck that is not in green. If you're playing against an opponent that has a lot of green ramp, this is a great way to help you level the playing field. Next we have White Auracite, 2 white for an artifact. When this artifact enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until this artifact leaves the battlefield, and it taps for a white mana. It's just a mana rock that O-rings something. And our final artifact of the deck, Relic of Legends, 3 mana for an artifact, taps to add a mana of any color, and you can tap an untapped legendary creature you control to add a mana of any color. So, note you don't have to tap this to do that. So all of your legendary creatures can then become mana rocks. So pretty good when it comes to mana rocks in decks from Final Fantasy that have lots of legendaries. All right, next we're going to look at the instants and sorceries, and to show you, there's a lot of them. This deck wants to be casting many spells so you can keep draining your opponents. So up first we have Void Rend. It is white, blue, black, so Esper. For an instant, this spell can't be countered, and it destroys target non-land permanent. Just premium removal. 3 mana, destroy any non-land thing, and can't be countered. Then we have Lethal Scheme, 2 black for an instant with Convoke, so your creatures can help you pay the cost of this. So every creature you tap after tapping mana, if you tap any, can help pay for 1 or a pip of that creature's color. So if you tap 2 black creatures, oh, thank you, Elf. Thank you for that Thirst Trap redeem. Let me grab a drink here. I was just thinking, I was like, my voice is feeling kind of scratchy. Thank you so much. I don't feel as gruff anymore. So if you have black creatures in play, you can tap them to pay for the black mana in this. If you have 4 creatures, this spell is effectively free if 2 of those creatures are black. So that's how Convoke works. The spell destroys target creature or planeswalker, and each creature that convoked Lethal Scheme connives. So connive You get to draw a card, then discard a card, and if you discard a non-land card, you put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. So if you are tapping 4 creatures to pay for this, you get to draw 4, discard 4, and every non-land card that you discard in that will put a 1/1 counter on the creature that you're resolving that ability for. It is one at a time, I should point out. Next we have Snuff Out, 3 and a black for an instant. If you control a swamp, you may pay 4 life rather than pay this spell's mana cost. So, this will trigger Ishtola's ability to draw you a card. Because again, it's at each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life, you get to draw a card. So as long as you have a swamp, you can cast a free kill spell that will draw you a card. Snuff Out destroys target non-black creature, and it can't be regenerated. So just free removal. Next we have Transpose, 2 and a black for an instant. Draw a card, then discard a card. You lose 1 life. If this spell was cast from your hand, you create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell. This token deals 1 damage to each opponent. So that's what the wizard tokens in this set do. And it also has Rebound. If you cast this spell from your hand, you exile it as it resolves, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, you get to cast this card from exile for free. Note 2, it is a 3 mana spell, so it will trigger Ishtola's Drain. Next we have Into the Story, 5 blue for an instant. The spell costs 3 less to cast if an opponent has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. You draw 4 cards. Now, I do know a little bit about this card. So, this is apparently the opening of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. You have, what is her name? Heidelin, I think, who's like the god of the world. And this is her opening monologue. You see this crystal, and she says, "Hear, feel, think." And that opens Final Fantasy Realm Reborn. Next up, we have Dig Through Time, 6 blue for an instant with Delve. So each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell will pay for 1 of it. So if you have 6 cards in your graveyard, you could exile all 6 of them and just pay 2 blue. The spell has you look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Then we have Sublime Epiphany, 4 blue for an instant. Choose 1 or more. Counter target spell. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Or target player draws a card. So for 6 mana, you can do all 5 of these. Note that it does resolve in order. But you could do fewer. If you just want to bounce something back to hand, make a token copy of something of yours, and draw a card, you can do that. You don't even need the counter stuff. Then we have Swords to Plowshares, classic white removal. 1 mana for an instant, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Then we have Vindicate, 1 white for a sorcery, destroy target permanent. Doesn't say non-land. You can blow up lands with Vindicate. Then we have Lingering Souls, 2 and a white for a sorcery, create 2 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying, and has flashback for 1 and a black. How about that? So for a total of 5 mana, you could make 4 flying 1/1s. Then we have Cleansing Nova, 3 white for a sorcery. Choose 1, destroy all creatures, or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Good little modal board wipe there. Next we have, is this card draw in white? We have Cut a Deal, 2 and a white for a sorcery. Each opponent draws a card. Then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card this way. So it reads weird if you haven't played Magic for a while. But effectively, if you're playing a game of Commander, because you would never want to cast this in 1v1, for 3 mana, it goes around, and each opponent may choose to draw a card. So let's say we're in a 4-player game. All 3 of my opponents decide yes, they want to draw a card. I then get to draw 3 cards, because it's 1 for each opponent who drew a card, right? This card scales even better the more opponents you have. I've seen somebody resolve this spell at a 6-player game. Everyone but me decided to draw a card, and my opponent drew 4 cards off of it. It was wild. Then we have Final Judgment, 4 white for a sorcery. Exile all creatures. Just nuke everything. Next up we have Siphon Mind, 3 and a black for a sorcery. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. So, similar to Cut a Deal, this is doing some hand hate stuff, but if I have 3 other opponents, they each discard a card, I draw 3. Pretty decent. And at 4 mana, it's going to trigger Ishtola's Drain. And I get to draw a card because it's a spell. And I potentially draw a card if I've dealt 4 or more damage. So, could be an extra card drawn as well off of Ishtola. Next we have Circle of Power, 3 and a black for a sorcery. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. Also, you create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. And, the part I always forget about this, wizards you control get +1/+0 and gain lifelink until end of turn. So, all of those 0/1s become 1/1s with lifelink. That note, lifelink is when this creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So when you're doing the non-creature spell pinging, you are gaining life on that 1 damage to each opponent. Right? So I cast this, I cast another spell. The wizard that I made is getting +1/+0 on lifelink. And then I cast another spell. I have 3 opponents, deals 1 damage to each of them. For each of those damages, I'm gaining a life, because it's each instance of that damage. So, I draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, make a wizard, cast another non-creature spell, drain the table for 1, I gain 3, if I have 3 opponents. So really, you come out life positive, and you've just drawn cards. Next we have a potential game finisher, Exsanguinate, for X black. It's a sorcery. Each opponent loses X life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So this card can and has won games before. If you make X equal 5, you're in a 4-player game, right? You spent 7 mana, so X equals 5. Each of my opponents loses 5 life. I gain 15. So, Exsanguinate just kills people. Next we have Crux of Fate. 3 black for a sorcery. Choose 1, destroy all dragon creatures, or destroy all non-dragon creatures. If you need it more targeted removal, maybe your opponent is playing a dragon deck, you just blow up their board. You want to blow up everything else? Blow up everything else. Maybe you've got a couple dragons out. Blow them up. Then we have a great copy spell, Rite of Replication, 2 blue for a sorcery with kicker 5. So you can pay an additional 5 as you cast this spell, right? Making it a total of 9 mana, but the spell at 4 mana, you create a token that's a copy of target creature. If the spell was kicked, so if you pay that extra 5, you create 5 of those tokens instead. Pretty decent, especially if you're copying something especially nasty. I would pay 9 mana to make 5 copies of the biggest problem on the board. And then you get to become the biggest problem on the board. Alright, moving into our lands for this deck. We are almost through for this episode. So we're going to take a look at our colorless and gold lands. And then some of our dual color. So up first we have Demolition Field. It's a land, taps for colorless. You can pay 2, tap, sacrifice this land to destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. That land's controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. You may search your library for a basic land card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Note there is a separation there. So even if your opponent chooses not to search, you still get to replace this land with a basic. And note that it doesn't say tapped. So if your opponent's running a Field of the Dead or a Urborg or something like that, sometimes it's good to have note, this is not mass land denial. Okay? This is targeted land removal. This does not up your deck to a higher bracket level. This is there for removing a problematic land that is stopping people from playing Magic. Next, we have Ash Barrens. We've talked about this one a few times. Taps for a colorless or has basic land cycling. You pay 1, you pitch it in the bin, and you go get a basic land and put it into your hand. Next, we have Scavenger Grounds. This is land type desert. That's not a basic type, it's just desert type. Taps for a colorless. You can pay 2, tap, sacrifice a desert, exile all graveyards. Now, this is the only desert in the deck, but you have targeted graveyard removal on command. Would I rather have seen a Bojuka Bog? Probably. Next, we have Temple of the False God. Taps for 2 colorless, but you can only do it if you have 5 or more lands. Evolving Wilds, we talked about this in the last deck. Tap and sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Path of Ancestry, we've seen. Enters tapped, taps for a mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and when that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you get to scry one. Here we have the deck's Command Tower, which is a land that taps for a mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Arcane Sanctum, it's a land, enters tapped, and taps for white, blue, or black. Then we have Exotic Orchard. It's a land, taps for 1 mana of any color a land an opponent controls could produce. And with Port Town, as it enters, you may reveal a plains or island. If you don't, it enters tapped. It taps for white or blue. Sky Cloud Expanse, you pay 1, you tap it, and it taps for white and blue. It does tap for both. So basically you're filtering a mana into this to get you both white and blue. But you do have to have the 1 mana to start to pay into this. Idyllic Beachfront, land Plains Island, taps for white or blue, and it just enters tapped. These are perfectly fine fetchable lands in a budget deck. Prairie Stream, land Plains Island, enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basics. Then we have Glacial Fortress. This land enters tapped unless you control a plains or an island, which is why we have these multi-type lands, because this doesn't care about basic. This is a plains island. This is a plains island. If you have either of these in play, Glacial Fortress enters untapped and taps for a white or a blue. All right. Moving into our white-black lands. we have Fetid Heath. It's a land, taps for colorless, or you could pay Orzhov Hybrid, which is white or black, and tap to add double white, white black, or double black. It's another pay into thing, but it's got a little more modality in the mana that it can produce. Next we have one of the hardest lands to say in all of Magic the Gathering. This is Shine Shadow Snarl. It's a land that as it enters, you may reveal a plains or swamp from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped and taps for a white or a black. Then we have Sunlit Marsh. It's a land, plain swamp, and enters the battlefield tapped. Next we have Isolated Chapel. It's a land. It enters tapped unless you control a plains or a swamp, and taps for white or black. Next up is Desolate Mire. It's a land. You pay 1 and tap it, and it adds a white and black mana. Next we have Sunken Ruins. It's a land that taps for colorless, and you can pay a Dimir Hybrid, so blue or black, tap and add double blue, blue or black, or double black. Next we have Sunken Hollow. This is land, island, swamp, so it taps for a blue or a black. This land enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basics. Contaminated Aquifer is a island swamp, so taps for blue or black, and enters the battlefield tapped. Then we have Underground River. This land taps for colorless, or you can tap and add blue or black, but it deals a damage to you. These are what's known as the Pain Lands. Then we have Darkwater Catacombs. It's a land, you pay 1, tap it, it adds a blue or black. Blue and black, excuse me. Next we have Choked Estuary. This is a land, as it enters, you may reveal an island or swamp from your hand. If you don't, this land enters tapped. And taps for a blue or a black. These are known as, I believe, the check lands or reveal lands. I don't remember exactly what I think they're the reveal lands. And our final non-basic land is Drowned Catacomb. It's a land. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control an island or a swamp, and taps for blue or black. Moving into our basic lands for the deck. We have the basic swamps with art from Final Fantasy XIV. Then we have basic plains, of course, featuring 7th Heaven, Tifa Lockhart's Bar from Final Fantasy VII. And our islands, which we talked about earlier, is Besaid's Beach, where Tidus washes up at the beginning of Final Fantasy X, as our islands. And moving into our alternate arts and tokens, and then we will look at our bonus sheet. Let me just make sure I've got these all. Yes, okay. I want to make sure I have all of my alt arts in. Yeah, okay. So, starting out for our alternate arts, we have one of the cutest alt arts in the Chocobo track foil. This is the alternate Chocobo track foil for Tataru Taru, who we saw earlier. It's her in a different outfit and a super cute anime Lalafell. Trying to get it so that it'll show the Chocobo tracks. It does not like to show up very well. There you go. You can kind of see them a little bit. The little footprints across there. Next we have Emmett Selk of the Third Seat in the Chocobo foil. We also saw this one in the Commander deck. All the Chocobo track foils do have Japanese artists and have a much more anime-inspired art style to them. Then we have the full art for Good King Moggle Mog. Very cute little cat man there with, well, cat bat with his servants, his squad. Then we have the full art for Graha Tia. This is the art card version. Just a good little cat boy. Getting into our tokens for the deck, we have a whole bunch of heroes. So we have our Black Mage hero, we have a Wizard token, we have a Lalafell hero, and our Blue Bird with Flying and Vigilance. We have our Cat Person hero, looks like the Thief class potentially, and a Flying Spirit. I think they're called Viari, if I remember right. The bunny people. I believe in some kind of fighter barbarian class, looks like. And on the backside is our human soldier token. The Bastion of Remembrance makes. Treasure token. The classic chest from Final Fantasy 1. Our 1/2 lifelinking Moogle. The zombie token that... oh, what is his name? I've already forgotten it. It's not Thancred Waters. It's the other guy. I've already forgotten his name. It is Hildebrand Manderville. So you can see the token that Hildebrand makes there is doing the same pose as him. So this is apparently one of the expansions. He thought he died and came back as a zombie. So that's why he makes a 2/2 zombie token, I guess. It's a fun reference for people who enjoy Final Fantasy XIV. We got a Moogle on the back. Then we have a Spirit. And another hero. I believe this is... I don't think that's a VRE. I'm not sure what player race that is. We have another Burb. And another cat folk. This one is the oh, what is the... There's a job select card. Machinist. They basically make guns. We have another wizard with a human hero and human soldier with another, this is the bard. So there you go. You get a bunch of different hero tokens because this deck makes a lot of heroes. And then into the sideboard stuff. These, of course, are just fun cards that all feature art from their respective game. So this is Cloudbound Moogle, 3 white for a creature type Moogle, 2/3 with flying. When this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. It could be itself. And has plane cycling for 2, so you can pay 2, discard it, and go get a planes and put it in your hand. Doesn't have to be basic. And we have Ultima, the ultimate magic. 3 white for a sorcery. Destroy all artifacts and creatures and end the turn. It exiles all spells and abilities from the stack, including this card. And the player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off. And this turn and until end of turn effects end. So if you do have things that say, like, you know, make a bunch of creature tokens and at the end of turn sacrifice them, you could just end the turn and skip through that stuff. Next we have Louisoix's Sacrifice. This is Louisoix Levelier, who is Alphinaud and Alice's dad, who sacrifices himself at the end of Final Fantasy XIV when they relaunched it as A Realm Reborn. That is what I'm given to understand. It is 1 blue mana for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you sacrifice a legendary creature, like Louisoix is shown here, or pay 2. Counters target activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell. So it could just be a 1 mana counter spell. Next we have Summon Primal Garuda, 3 and a white, for a enchantment creature Saga Harpy, 3/3 with flying. This is the full art foil version. With Aerial Blast, Chapter 1, this creature deals 4 damage to target tapped creature an opponent controls. And Slipstream, Chapters 2 and 3. Another target creature you control gets +1/0 and gains flying until end of turn. And we have some of the bonus sheet arts here. We have Shadowbringers, which is one of the names of the expansions for Final Fantasy XIV. This is a reprint of Dovin's Veto. White and a blue for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell. It's just a guaranteed counter for a non-creature spell. Next we have Aether and Priwen, one of the only equipments from Final Fantasy XIV that does not have job select. 6 mana for a legendary artifact equipment. Equipped creature has base power and toughness XX, where X is your life total, and equips for 5. In a deck like this, where our commander gains us life, this is a fun equipment to pop on your commander. Next, we have Baby Y'shtola. So we saw Y'shtola after she's decided that she's not a conformist and shops at Hot Topic now. But before she became a warlock, she was a druid. I think we're back. Are we back? I think we're good. Let me make sure. Okay, looks like we're back up. I don't know what keeps happening with this camera, man. I don't know what's happening. But I will do my utmost to fix this. We're almost done with the deck. Let's flip this back around, finish this bad boy, and end the podcast, shall we? All right. So we left off on Y'shtola Rule. Let's wrap this up with a quickness, because I do not want to run into any more breaks in the stream. Okay. So Y'shtola Rule, as we said, beginning of end step, you exile a creature you control, then return it to the battlefield. And if it's your first end step, there's an additional end step. So she gets to do that blink a second time. So you get to blink something twice or blink 2 things once. Then we have Sid, Timeless Artificer. Now, notably, there are 15 different arts for Sid. This is the one from Final Fantasy XIV in the extended frame. I just included it because it's one of the only Sids that I ever pulled from the set, and it was the one that went in Final Fantasy XIV, so figured thematic. Sid, Timeless Artificer, costs 2 white blue for a legendary human artificer. 4/4 with artifact creatures and heroes you control get +1/+1 for each artificer you control and each artificer card in your graveyard. And a deck can have any number of cards named Sid, Timeless Artificer. Also can be cycled away for a blue and a white. So cycling, you discard this card and you draw to replace it. So I don't have enough Sids to make this a viable include. It's just in there for the flavor and the fun. Next, we have Baby Grahatia. So this is before he gets his level up. Grahatia costs 4 and a white for a legendary cat archer, 3/5 with reach, and the Allagan Eye. Whenever one or more other creatures and or artifacts you control die, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Then we have the main set version of Emmett Selk. This is Emmett Selk Unsundered. This is the full art, what do they call it? The showcase art in foil. It is 1 blue-black for a legendary Elder Wizard, 2/4 with Vigilance, and whenever Emmett Selk enters or attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform Emmett Selk. So he enters or attacks, you draw a card and discard. And if you have 14 or more, because 14 is a recurring theme in the game, he transforms into Hades, Sorcerer of Eld. Legendary creature avatar, 6/6 with Vigilance and Echo of the Lost. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. And if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So it stops death triggers, which is kind of neat. If your opponent has stuff that cares about things dying, it doesn't die. It's exiled. And it's a cool foil. It's a Surge foil too, which matches the Surge foiling in the rest of the deck. Next we have Summon Primal Odin, 4 black for an enchantment creature Saga Knight, 5/3 with 3 chapters. Chapter 1, Gungnir, is destroy target creature an opponent controls. Chapter 2, Zantetsuken. This creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. And Chapter 3, Hall of Sorrow. Draw 2 cards, each player loses 2 life. So, one of the things that was making rounds in Standard when this set came out is people were playing Yuna Hope of Spira, reanimating things like Primal Odin or Knights of the Round or Bahamut. And if you have things that could remove counters, well, you could just keep doing the Zantetsuken ability. And if this creature hits your opponent, they just die. Because Yuna's giving Trample and Lifelink and Ward, you just kill opponents with Odin. And our final card in the sideboard, we have Endwalker, another one of the expansions. 1 blue, this is a reprint of Brainstorm. 1 blue mana for an instant, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. And there you go. That is all of the bonus cards for the Final Fantasy XIV deck. And that is another episode of Such a Brew About Nothing. I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I really enjoy doing this show. I'm hoping that maybe our tech issues will be solved soon enough because, oh boy, do I hate when we have technical difficulties. But, you know, at least I think I've figured out how to solve it this time. It just keeps disconnecting me for some reason. It's like it's bumping the down arrow on my camera, even though I'm not touching my camera. I don't know. I'm going to try to do some tech and see if I can't figure out these problems so that they'll go away, and hopefully we won't encounter this any further. That said, friends, you are going to see some messages coming up in chat here. They are the raid and sub-raid messages. If you wouldn't mind, do me a flavor and copy your favorite flavor of raid message. We have both the raid and sub-raid, if I can spell, popping up in the chat there. Copy your favorite one, and we are going to find a friend to pay it forward and share the love with Let's see who's on right now. I believe JR should be on. Team Evil 1991. Looks like he is. He is still playing some Tomb Raider Remastered. So let's head on over and see what's up to the guru, shall we? Friends, do want to thank you so much for tuning in again. It has been my esteemed pleasure, nay honor, being your entertainment for this evening, whether you were engaging in the chat, quietly lurking, or maybe even enjoying this on the VODs on Twitch or YouTube. If you've made it this far into the video, do me a favor, click that little thumbs up button or the subscribe button on YouTube. And click the little heart follow button on Twitch so that you don't miss any further episodes. We do stream every week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays at 8 p.m. MST. We are currently playing through Our PG, the RPG show, where I play through the mainline numbered Final Fantasy games, and you, the viewers, can join the party. You can get your name up as one of the characters, and you get to choose their class and the stuff that you want to see them wield. It's the next best thing to playing co-op with me. We are currently playing through Final Fantasy II. We will be finishing that game off this Tuesday. So if you want to see the finale of Final Fantasy II, then be sure to tune in then. And of course, we will be back, hopefully, as long as there's no further tech issues. We will be back not next Sunday, but the one after. So in 2 weeks, I think it's 2 weeks. Let me pull up a calendar here. Yes, we will be back on May 3rd with Such a Brew About Nothing again. I haven't fully decided what decks we're going to talk about. I need to look at my list of which ones we've already talked about. But we'll talk about more decks when we get closer to that date. Until the next time, friends. Oh, I should probably start the raid. That would be a good idea. Until next time, friends, thank you again so much for watching. If you do want to check out the deck lists for the decks we talked about, both the Counter Blitz and Scions and Spellcraft, you can find them on my Archidect page. The link is in the pinned message in chat and will also be made available in the description of this video on the VODs, both on Twitch and on YouTube. But until the next time, I hope to see you again very soon for more Our PG as we're playing more Final Fantasy for RPG April. But until then, I've been Triumph. You've been amazing. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you in the next one, friends. Until next time, let's raid!